You're a young married couple. You've started a family. You may have a gaggle of kids, and you both have jobs, full-time jobs, in fact. Your day starts with preparing, getting the kids up and preparing them for school and preparing a meal. You get them to school. You may transport them to school or get them to the bus stop. And you still have your responsibility to get to work on time. You have your own responsibilities there and projects. And before you know it, you're turning around and you're either going back to pick them up at school, your kids up at school, getting dinner prepared, having dinner, and then preparing them for bed or helping them with their homework or both. By the time you know you've got some free moments with your spouse, you're so exhausted you either fall asleep in mid-sentence, but you've got no energy to have a meaningful conversation or a meaningful connection. Your romantic partner now feels like a roommate. And this is going on day after day after day. And now you're beginning to wonder and feel like the spark in your marriage is gone.
You start to have maybe some little arguments, like petty arguments about who picked up the milk or didn't pick up the milk today. Yeah. You don't have any milk. Who emptied the garbage or whatever. And it's not that these are the things that wear the marriage down, these small arguments, but it's that lack of meaningful connection that you haven't been having.
Yeah.
That comes out that way.
Yeah. And once again, you begin to wonder, who is this person I married? Where's the spark that we once had when we were dating or when we were married, maybe early in our marriage? Well, the fact of the matter is, you're probably, I could ask you the question, so when was the last time you had a meaningful connection with your spouse or a meaningful conversation?
And when was the last time you might have had a date night?
Yeah, that's even more important. Well, we know from personal experience and experience that working with other couples in marriage coaching, that date nights are a wonderful, wonderful way to reignite the spark in your marriage. We know that there are 3 characteristics of successful, really good date nights or date days. And they're this: number 1, the date day or date night needs to be consistent. That is, it should be calendared. It should be something that has a frequency no less than once every 2 weeks. But it needs to be on the calendar, and it probably should be done well in advance of the date night plan, maybe every, in a month or 2 months in advance, but on the calendar. Number 2, it needs to have uninterrupted connection. Your date night needs to have uninterrupted connection. What does that mean? Well, it means that you're not bringing your best friend along for the date night or any of your kids or your mother-in-law, although I'm not sure anybody would have even thought of that. It means that your cell phone should be basically used for only emergencies. And lastly, it means that the discussion really, except for maybe the kind of decompression that you have in the first few minutes of that date day or date night, really needs to not include work issues at home, issues with your kids. You know what I'm talking about. The conversation needs to be well beyond that. So that's the uninterrupted conversation. And then number 3, it just needs to be fun.
Right.
So we've come up with some ideas just to kind of prime the pump of developing and brainstorming date nights that you could do. These are ideas that might speak to you and hopefully help you to get your own date nights going. So here's the fun idea number 1.
It's an outdoor adventure. We did this years ago back in Vermont. We had been to England and our friend took us out and did this with us, where you're on a hike or a nice walk in Vermont And we brought a Spaya stove and we brought scones I'd made and all the accoutrements. And we just took a break at one point and had tea out in the wild.
Yeah, we once again, our good friend in England, he was very English. So scones were a part
And
of every
tea.
adventure and every walk,
And yeah.
and tea.
Mm.
But you know, with the vistas in Vermont, every hike was beautiful.
Mm.
They were so inspirational. They were so much fun, and there are plenty of paths in Vermont to do that. Well, where you are, you've got
Mm.
parks. You have probably places that you can drive to that are not too far, where you can do exactly the same thing. So an outdoor adventure is fun idea number one. Fun idea number two is progressive date nights or date days, dinner dates rather.
Mm.
And what do I mean by that? It means this. In fact, we're planning one of these. It means that you do an appetizer in one place, one restaurant or a bar. You do a main course in another restaurant, and maybe a dessert in another. So we are headed to Fort Lauderdale in a little time, in about a week and a half, and we go there fairly frequently for business and stuff like that. And we've got one of these date days, date nights planned. So we're going to go for oysters at Southport Raw Bar as an appetizer. We're going to go to Blair's Steakhouse in Weston, Florida, which is part of Fort Lauderdale. I hope that's right. And that's the main course. And then for gelato, we're going to Luciano's Gelato in Weston, Florida as well. So that's what we would call a progressive dinner date. And that's fun idea number two for a date night.
We've never been to any of those three restaurants, so that's going to be part of the adventure as well.
Yeah, for sure. Date night, date day or date night idea, fun idea number three
is a wine or beer tasting. I would do it at home, so you don't have to get an Uber. And you know, you just maybe have a couple small, if you can get the small bottles of wine or a couple cans of beer, and you cover up the label so you can't tell what it is. Maybe I put my favorite, you put your favorite in, but we try to just kind of guess or taste to see what is it you like, and discuss it after. What is it you like? You don't like? Rate them.
Yeah, so we rate them, and we blind them all,
tasting.
and we it's a blind wine tasting. We rate them all, and then we take off the blinders, which are basically paper bags, and then we find out where we arrive. And often you come up with, I mean, to be honest with you, we usually pick the wines that are pretty good. So you don't usually find a dog of a wine, but occasionally you really find one, and it's a fun way. Just to do a home date as well.
And you have food with it.
Yeah, you better have food with it. If you, I mean, and if you go out to do this, and you can do this in wine bars, and you can do this a lot of places, just make sure that you have a designated driver, and that's called Uber or a taxi. Just be it, because the date night is just you and your spouse. Fun idea for the date day or date night number 4. So this would be the surprise mystery date. Now, I think the most fun way to do this is you alternate this. So, for instance, the next date was in Fort Lauderdale, was my idea. I said it wasn't my idea where we were going, but it was my idea to do this. And so, in this case, it would be your idea where to go, what to do, what's the activity. Obviously, you're going to pick something that you shared. Something with some shared fun. It could be one of many things. You could design your own date day. It might be, I think we did this, we haven't done this for a while, but I think when we were back in New England, we did this with it was a beach day, but Lynn didn't know it. She loves the beach. And we went to, we planned a date day or date night. She thought we were going out to a restaurant, and we did go out to a restaurant, but we went down to a beach, which is one of her favorite beaches. And we went to one of her seafood restaurants, Billy's. And I didn't tell you, it was fun. So it's called the surprise mystery date. And once again, alternate it. It'd be a lot of fun. Fun idea for date day or date night number 5.
is take a dance class. We are gonna date ourselves now, but years ago, when we were in our 20s, we went to Saturday Night Fever, the movie.
That was another
The
century, by the way.
original movie with John Travolta and the dance, and we walked up the aisle on the way back. It felt
Out of the movie.
like we were dancing out of the movie.
Not well.
And we decided to take a dance class with, I forget.
It was Arthur Murray's. I don't even know if they still
whatever.
exist, but
And we learned salsa, tango, but disco.
yeah,
you know.
disco. I mean, we were good disco
And
dancers.
it
And
was
so
fun.
we had almost no money at the time. I was in medical school and was working full time, but it wasn't cheap. We were in Kansas City, and that was the one date day or date night that we could count on. We did that for weeks, for months, actually. And then after that, we decided to go out and practice what we learned. And we had some very interesting date nights after that. That was fun idea number 5. Down at fun idea number 6. And this is kind of, you create your own couples bucket list. In other words, you just go out, and this is best done over dinner or maybe coffee or something like this. You can make this a date day and just sit down and talk about the stuff that is on your bucket list. Little, small, big, and begin to design some date days or date nights or a trip, or I mean, this is a lot of fun. We've done this many a time. And you won't go wrong with a create a couples bucket list. Well, listen, we just wanted to prime the pump. These are just some ideas. You guys are creative, and I'm sure you'll come up with some great ideas yourself. So listen, don't waste another minute. Get your calendars out, pick a time to do a date day or date night. In fact, what I would do is pick maybe a couple or 3 date day or date nights in a row. They don't have to be week after week. It could be every 2 weeks, whatever works for your mutual schedule. But do it. Get it in the calendar and get started. This will spark this kind of consistency, particularly you keep it up, add on infinitum as we have for years. This is one thing that will get the spark in your marriage back. And I guarantee this will light some marital fires. So
Yeah.
take care. Where is the thing?